president's demanding answers to what is obvious pay to play. They did not pay a kid with no experience for no reason at all. They were buying favor. Anybody that thinks otherwise is just like the mob, intellectually dishonest. My question is, let's assume for a minute they impeach the president. The Senate won't convict him because there's nothing to convict him on. There's nothing to impeach him on. But let's say they do a political impeachment. Then they won't convict him. Will this help the president in 2020? Because my guess is the people, the American people, will see this never-ending witch hunt against this president. I think they'll be lining up for weeks in advance in the freezing cold snow and rain to cast their vote for Donald Trump to send a message to this disgusting swamp.
Look, I think this is a sore loser impeachment. It has nothing to do with facts. It has nothing to do with actions. There were about 70% of the people who favor impeachment favored it the day after the election. And Schiff and Pelosi represent the first time in American history we've had sore losers who decided they would try to unlock the election by simply making stuff up. I mean, if you go back, if you listed everything Schiff has said for 3 years that was false, that we now know was false, it is a stunning comment on how bad this whole system is. And I think that Kevin McCarthy is very likely to be the next Speaker of the House, because I think that Pelosi, in trying to pay off the left, is going to beat 30 or 40 Democrats. I mean, you look at Peterson in northern Minnesota, 30-point Trump district. If he votes yes this Thursday, he might as well go home and quit campaigning, because he's not going to get reelected.
Let me ask you this. We're about to get the IG report. We already know that it was an unverifiable, dirty, Clinton bought and paid for Russian dossier. Media doesn't, the mob and the media, you know, you have to suspend any connection to objective truth, reality, be intellectually dishonest, suspend all reason and common sense to be where they are in the hypocrisy level. But let's say premeditated fraud on a FISA court denying an American his constitutional rights and spying on an opposition party campaign candidate, transition, and president. Then we got the possible outsourcing of intelligence gathering to our allies to circumvent U.S. laws against spying on Americans, Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. Knowing that that's all coming, what will be the impact of what they did?
Oh, I think it will be devastating, and I think it may well reach all the way up to President Obama. I think it's impossible for me to believe that all of this was done and the president did not know it.
We have evidence. There's no counterintelligence investigation that can take place without the approval of the president. That would be Obama. Number two, remember the struck page text? It said, White House wants to know every new development. White House would be Obama's White House, correct?
That's right.
Does Trump win in 2020? Does all this hate Trump help him in 2020? Last question.
Yes, I think Trump will win, probably in a landslide, to the great shock of the left.
Well, he shocked the world once, beat the Bush dynasty, beat the Clinton dynasty. All right, when we come back, thank you, Mr. Speaker. His book is out, Amazon.com, Hannity.com, bookstores everywhere. By the way, we're going to show you some of my debate with James Carville this weekend. Also proof the 2020 election, well, it's probably the most important in our lifetime. That's how important it is. David Limbaugh, Mike Huckabee next. You have a brand new YouGov poll out with some very disturbing information about the state of America's youth. Look at this, 70% millennials responding that they are somewhat or extremely likely to vote for a socialist candidate. Pretty disturbing. Well, we do pay more per capita for education, and, well, we're 37th in reading and math and proficiency. Joining us now, this is a definitive new book. It is out by the #1 best-selling author of the New York Times. It's Guilty by Reason of Insanity, out today. Why the Democrats Must Not Win, David Limbaugh. And Fox News contributor, former Arkansas Governor Michael Huckabee. Yes, David Limbaugh has negotiated my deals since, well, 1991. Thank you. Great to see you. Guilty by Reason of Insanity, Why the Democrats Must Not Win. So let's assume these idiots want to impeach him. He's not convicted by the Senate. and they got Elizabeth Warren, New Green Deal, Medicare for all, no private insurance, and they want to take over industry, and everything's free. 94 trillion, 36 trillion. That we can't survive, David.
No, totally unsustainable. And, you know, in your lead into this, you're talking about the poll. Well, I talk about some polls in my book on socialism. You've got an overwhelming percentage of millennials who say they like socialism. But the reason is they've been indoctrinated against capitalism and enamored with socialism, because you have 40% of the colleges in the United States have 0 Republicans. The other 60% have very few. So they're taught... Professors, yes. And they use these textbooks. The American Pageant treats capitalists as exploitive.
Do you think they could win?
Do you mean the Democrats?
Yeah.
They could win, but I don't think they will. I think the people have awakened to how radical and extreme the Democratic Party is, because they try to out-socialize each other in the debates and show how literally extreme they are.
Mike Huckabee, the point about schools and why the Democrats must not win. By the way, get this book. It's on Amazon.com and bookstores everywhere.
I sent it to Governor Huckabee.
Governor, they win. It's not going to be the United States of America we grew up in.
No, it really won't. I think what David has said is very important. This is at the heart of academia in this country. And the fact is that this move towards socialism is, frankly, the adult economic equivalent of what happens when you have kids growing up with everybody gets a trophy. Because that's really what economic socialism is everybody's going to get the same. Nobody's a winner. Nobody's a loser. We're all C students. Nobody excels, nobody fails. It's a disastrous consequence, and it'll destroy our economy and make us more like Venezuela than America.
How do you explain, I'm looking at this, reason guilty by reason of insanity, why Democrats must not win. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know, how did this happen? And look at the rage and the psychosis and the hate of Trump. How do you explain that?
Well, the Democrats have hated all the Republicans, the Republican presidents. We just tend to forget that. And they've just come out of the closet. It's convenient to go after Trump because he's been a border hawk, and so they can portray him as a racist, which is totally ridiculous. He's rich, so they can portray him as an exploitive capitalist. We need to evangelize Americans as to how great capitalism is. It creates wealth. Socialism destroys and impoverishes.
We got to counter the indoctrination.
Yes.
Book.
It's a call to arms.
Call to arms. This is what this election is about. You love the America we grew up in. Congrats on the book. Amazon.com, out today in bookstores. When we come back, I was at Politicon in Nashville debating James Carville. Highlights next. All right, over the weekend, I was at Politicon, Nashville, Tennessee. I had a chance to debate the raging Cajun, actually a good guy in person, politically fierce, James Carville. We discussed the president's accomplishments, and I tried to get James to tell me exactly what crime the president should be impeached over, because there is no crime. Take a look. Are we better off than we were 4 years ago? The answer is overwhelmingly yes. We have the best employment in this country since 1969. We have, for the first time in 75 years, we are energy independent in the United States of America. Record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace. We have a president that promised the biggest tax cuts in history. He delivered. We have a president that promised originalist justices. He delivered. We have a president that said he's going to find a way and secure the border. He found the money. He's building the wall. James, what crime do you want to impeach him on?